Welcome back to War Geordie's Wafter. This is Kriegschmidt.
I'm Dangle, like canny bonny lad, mate. It's wafter. It's not wafter. War Geordie's wafter.
Well,
It's
excuse
War
me.
Geordie's wafter.
I mean, given that you live south of the river, you're not punching above your weight a little bit there, sonner.
I'll punch ye above ye weight.
And
I don't
that's
even know
how
what that means.
dwarves ended up fighting elves.
Well, everything's above me. To be fair, if I'm a dwarf, I end up punching above myself in almost every one of our battles, apart from when I'm battling the build dwarves.
That's true. Yeah, and that's why we have big bastions to stand on and ginormous, like, half-breed beast things so that we can look down on you.
We all know what your bastions are compensating for. That's why real dwarves don't need bastions.
Okay, so I think that's what you call a cold open, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're supposed to say hi guys, thanks for watching, but I don't. Dwarves don't say hi guys.
Like, share, subscribe.
Comment down below, like.
Nothing would go over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. This is unrehearsed. No, this is not unrehearsed. Or is this rehearsed? I can't remember. Is this real? Are we recording? I don't know. I am in
I'm a brain in a jar. I don't even know.
I am just a jar.
I'm a beard in a jar.
You're a bit in a jar. I am a jar like a faulty door. I am two, neither open nor closed. Anyway, if this is your first video, welcome to welcome to the bottom of the barrel. This is promises to be a succinct video summarizing a 4,500 points battle between my Highborn Elves and Dangle's Dwarven Holds.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Great. So this was a rematch. The Highborn Elves had slaughtered the dwarves by pulling off a sort of cheeky refused flank, deploying all the fast-looking things on one flank, tempting the dwarves into deploying several of their hefty units on that flank, and then fucking off and leaving them. And the result was a bloodbath. So this battle was, to say the least, tense. Needless to say, the dwarves were going to be fighting hard, and the elves fighting on exactly the same table. Without that trick up their sleeve, we're going to have to be very clever in order to pull off a win. Yeah. So here's the deployment. We had...
We've got army lists first.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you're right.
Yeah, army list first.
So very quickly, if you want to pause the video, here are the army lists. So the Highborn Elves and the Dwarven Holds from Balls Deep.
Balls Deep.
And you see, I know you said you're going to get a new quote, but I quite like that quote.
Hold each wrong like a chafing grain of sand in your grudges will become as pearls. Yeah, I need that. That's quite a good one, but that's been used now. I need another line from the grudge book.
See, I'm curious, was that a deliberate pun or a Freudian slip? Because you said chafing.
What is it? Is it not pronounced chafing?
No, chafing has two F's. That's chafing. What your pants do to your balls when you are running the Great North Run is chafing. But what my units try to do to your seekers when I'm really drunk because I've forgotten that they've got light troops is chaffing.
Well, in the edit, we'll make this look like a pun. No, it was okay. Let's move on. Let's edit that. Yeah.
So we had encircle, and I won the toss. Do you win the toss by coming first or coming last? I can't remember. I won the toss, and I decided to try and be clever, and it didn't work. I decided to give Dangle the flanks, let him deploy further forward on the flanks in the hope that he would split his army.
Yeah, so in the last video, we had some very helpful comments talking about what we could have done differently, particularly in deployment. And one of the people had said to me, why don't you try and deploy kind of a split force with one piece of artillery on each side, because it will make it more difficult for Kriegschmidt to work out which one to try and go and take out. Kriegschmidt pointed out this comment to say, go and look at this comment. This is a really good piece of tactical advice. Obviously trying to get me to do that, So I approached this battle thinking, right, he's going to think that I'm going to do that because he's pointed it out. He wasn't really that transparent, and I wouldn't really accuse him of that. But it was an idea that we discussed, maybe putting deploying on each flank and splitting my force. So in my deployment, I was trying to make him think that I was going to do that. So I think I put my cannon down in that ruin first, and then I put the catapult down, and then I put my Yetis down, the whole Guardians, and then I put another put. And I think I was deploying, trying to make him think that I was going to kind of split my force, but never actually intending to do that.
Yeah. And I was, and I mean, again, I think you credit me with too much intelligence, because I literally sent you to the comment because I was like, oh, there's a nice guy watched our video and he actually had a comment on your deployment. Why don't you go and have a chat with him? And that was the end of it. that was the be all and end all of it. And but I think you credit me with too much intelligence. I thought, he's being clever. I think if I ever was clever, it ran out years ago, I think.
If I was clever, I wouldn't be using my cleverness on this rubbish. I'd be trying to mend my career.
You definitely out deployed me on this one. That was very well played. And as the dwarves started to fill up, the right half from my point of view of the table, I remember thinking, oh shit, I'm already on the back foot. It didn't work.
Just on the deployment as well, Kriegschmidt, just because I do want to make a comment, and I think there's a very fine line, or the two halves of the same coin, of me kind of going against conventional wisdom or received wisdom or assumed wisdom, and me just not knowing what I'm doing or making very silly decisions. Because it's been pointed out to me a few times that I deploy my marksmen in 3 ranks. So I've got 21 marksmen and they stand in lines of 7. And some people have commented, why don't you just line them up? Why have you got a 3rd rank? Because it just means that they can't fire. And to me, they're not marksmen, they're dwarves with crossbows. And I think in a lot of different armies, the kind of ranged troops are very fragile. They either have no armor or light armor, but those guys are dwarves with furious charge, heavy armor, and shields, and they do fight. And there's been very many occasions where they've been acting as marksmen, and then at a certain point in the battle, they just sling their crossbows and then go and fight, and then
run away.
And then having eventually they do run away, but having that extra rank, I do look at them not as like a gun line, but as a unit of dwarves that has multiple roles, because they have furious charge and heavy armor and shields, and they can kick some shit if they need to. They're not elves in light armor who just stand there and hope they don't actually get in a fist fight. So I could see the logic of deploying them wider in 2 ranks, but I like the idea of being able to have them lined up so if they need to get in the shit, they can get in the shit. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm prepared to be corrected on that, but people have asked me several times when they see photographs of deployment.
No, I applaud that thinking. I love the idea of thinking them that way, rather than sort of like pure, optimum shooting. So arrange them like this. Just to play devil's advocate, they do have a musician, so you could deploy them in 2 ranks, and then if there's something getting close, you could reform them to 3 ranks and as a swift reform, and then shoot.
Charge them the next turn. But I like the idea is if you get too close, they might just hit you.
True.
They're not. I mean, the musician is great, but then it would be the next turn. But if you stay too close to them, they're going to sling the crossbows and hit you with their hammers.
Fair enough. Then more power to you.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
Let's see if it ever works.
So I was immediately frightened here because I didn't have an obvious way to deal with the cannon because it's in a ruin. Couldn't charge it with my cavalry without taking dangerous terrain. Couldn't shoot it easily with a sky sloop because there's a penalty to hit. And the catapult, and I think as I said at the time, that was a really sound idea, sticking it behind your infantry because it gave me a further -1 to hit your catapult. So I didn't have the basic luxuries I relied on last game. So I hadn't mastered the deployment. I was already on the back foot with the deployment, and I wasn't able to snipe your artillery with my artillery. So I was immediately thinking, oh shit, I've now got to try and fight off a really threatening looking army. The 3 M&Ms are spoils of war, because why not? Those M&Ms had actually sat out for 3 weeks, I think, blue tack to the table.
And the winner at the end did actually eat the M&Ms, despite the fact that they'd been blue tack to the table for 3 weeks. So
they did. So you can decide now which of us you think is the most, or
who
has the
would
most
be more
iron
likely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks to Fleet Officer, which I just think is a must. I had the +1 on deployment zones, which allowed me to make this mistake with deployment. And then I think I dropped several units to get first turn because I realized on the back foot, so then I went first. And I deep struck a big black leather pig full of dice onto the table. So the problem here was that the cavalry needed to position where they could threaten the flanks of anything that pushed forwards. But there was a cannon looking past the impassable terrain. And the sky sloop was not too worried about the cannon because it's got a hard target. But again, it didn't have an obvious target because the Hold Guardians were in the ruin, and so was the cannon. So it just sat there really to aim its gun at the objective in case the Hold Guardians decided to come out and maybe try and plink off some wounds. But really, it was a case of kind of let's see what happens with the cavalry. Try and either get them across as quickly as possible, or just sit back here by the impassable terrain and see what he does. The commander, as you can see, is hopped forwards, ready to jump over the stunty little heads. And I think the only thing I did of any consequence was I think I knocked a rank off the greybeards, and I took some wounds off the catapult with my artillery, but it was quite difficult. And then this was your turn one.
Yeah, just pushing forward. So the Hold Guardians have pushed forward to try and snatch that secondary objective. I've learned that secondary objectives are actually quite important, and the rest of the army is just pushing forwards, really. I just want to get squishing elves and just trying to be as aggressive as possible. I think the one thing that I've learned with dwarves is that they march far better than they advance, and yeah, they've got furious charge. They're designed to be marching forward and being aggressive and getting into combat. So pushing forward as much as possible. Yeah, pretty much just charge towards the enemy this turn.
Yeah. I think No, sorry, I'm skipping ahead to the next turn by mistake. Sorry, ignore me. Was that? I think was it?
Pretty much. I mean, I've got some spells off. I can see that I've got Rune of Resilience off on a couple of units.
Yeah.
But they, I think at this point, you had got the your spell on that allows you to pull back by expending veil tokens, hadn't you? So I think I caused some wounds with the catapult, but you managed to claim them back.
Yeah, I had Favor and Miladis. I managed to cast it. I think you might have let it through. You might have devoured it, I think, which meant that it got let through. And I think I remember saying at the time, aren't you going to make the same mistake as you did with the Seekers letting through the Grave Calls? Because, I after wounds and saves, I was able to ignore most of, if not all of, the wounds from your catapult. It was great. So there, that was that. That really saved me. I think that, a big hole in my Seaguard unit on this turn would have tipped the battle further towards you. So my turn two.
There's somebody's crotch.
Yes, and at this point we were talking about stance, the widest of the stance reflecting the confidence of the player. we were back to Osborne's awful power stance photo, weren't we? And and I was like, I will infer from your stance how confident you feel about the game now. And then you just pulled off this proper like Judas Priest courgette down the leather trousers thing.
That's my phone. It's not a courgette.
It's a bit of omelette you have for emergencies. It's your emergency omelette. So what had I done? So the cavalry decided to shoot over to threaten the flanks of your advancing line, braving the cannon. I thought if there's 2 units of cavalry, I'm just going to chance cannon fire. Hope he'll want to shoot something else. The Grey Watchers had used light troops to get sort of onto the side of the Seekers to try and, just muddle your advance, really. Try and stall your advance, make you sort of like perhaps kind of stop and create a circular line, something I could work with and, slow you down and shoot you. And the commander, as I said before, has hopped over the back to face the back. It's worth adding that if you saw the army list, he does have glittering lacquer. He's got glittering lacquer, so he's like hard target 1. So I was a bit kind of happy-go-lucky with him not getting shot by marksmen too badly. And that's all about it. I think the spell that I had off, I can't even remember which one it was.
I think you've done quite well with your shooting there, because you've definitely killed at least 2 Seekers, and I think about maybe like 9 Greybeards.
Yeah, 9 or 10 Greybeards, yeah, definitely. And the catapult's down to 2 health points. So yeah, there was a reasonable, but I didn't feel particularly confident because I thought, well, they're still coming.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the artillery easily, and they're still coming. And even if I kill that one unit of Greybeards, there's 3 more units. And even if I kill all the Seekers, there's still the Dragon Seeker. And the Clan Warriors are untouched. The King's Guard, I can't really shoot them to death because they've got a 3-up armor save. When they're not in combat. So I was really sweating a bit here. And the Sky Sloop was just trying to stay out of cannon fire and whittle down the Hold Guardians, who had their eyes on an orange M&M.
Yeah. Their stance is looking quite wide now. So I think this is what, I think from what I remember, this is an example that the marksmen have tried to flank charge the unit that was standing in front of them, the unit that was threatening the Seekers first.
That was the Grey Watchers, yeah.
The Grey Watchers, yeah. So the Grey Watchers are standing there thinking that they're all pretty, and the worst that can happen is a few crossbow shots, but they've actually got charged by 21 dwarves. And they fled, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Seekers have charged the Knights, and the Knights have fled.
Yeah.
And everything else is just advanced even more. So we're trying to get we're just marching even further. So we're trying to get into combat, but things keep running away, which is quite frustrating. That's a nice example of the marksman being able to have a threat additionally to just the crossbow shots. Because I think you thought that I would maybe just try and fire at you, but I managed to get you to disrupt your advance, or at least change. Things weren't going completely smoothly, I don't think, on your side.
I mean, you're right. I didn't expect I knew it was a possibility, but I thought it was unlikely that the marksman would charge the Grey Watchers. But on the other hand, the whole point of the Grey Watchers was that I would stick them in your face, and at some point I would flee, so that you couldn't kill them, and then they'd regroup, and then they'd pester you again. So it was kind of, I didn't think I'd be doing it from them, but when it did happen, it was like, well, okay, that was kind of, I was expecting, at some point in the game that they were going to annoy something.
Give me the opportunity to charge the Seekers, not into them, and the Seekers were then able to charge the Knights, who bravely ran away, and then are now pointing in the other direction. And I think at this point, the cannon fired at the other unit of Knights, the unit of Knights that are more central. And I think, was it at this point that you lost another Knight?
Could be,
fire?
Must be, yeah. I think so.
So things are going not too bad at the moment for me.
Yeah, I was certainly very worried about that those 3 units of, 2.5 units of dwarves bearing down on my main position, my artillery, my Queen's Guard and things. The Knights fleeing again, I wasn't too worried about the Knights fleeing, because I'm a great defender of Knights of Rhymer. That I really think they're a tremendous all-round unit. That they're a rare strength 4 elf. It's only really very special elf units that are strength 4, and they have lances, and they've got the 2-up armor save, and they've got the 6+ Aegis save. They've got 2+ Aegis against flaming. They've got discipline 9.
But they're running away. They're
running away. They've got the +1 attack on the charge, and with martial discipline, they can willingly flee, and then they get minimized roll on their discipline test to
Yeah,
rally. So they rally really easily.
Just come back and fight.
Yeah, they come back really easily. So I think they're a great all-round unit. I love them. But yes, I was nonetheless sweating. Dangle is right. And the Yetis were now munching on an M&M, although bleeding.
Yeah, I think one of them's lost 2 wounds. Yeah.
Yeah, and I managed to kill another one here, just kind of whittling it down with a sky sloop. But it was always a matter of time before the cannon shot the pterodactyl in the face. I see previous comment about the Knights of Rhymer. I mean, they successfully rallied, which they're designed to do. And there's actually there's a sort of hole in the middle, isn't there? Because I'm going to have to go back just to refresh my memory. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Because what I didn't want to happen, if I go back to Dangle's turn, so this is Dangle's turn 2. What I didn't want to happen in his turn 3 was for the King's Clan Warriors unit to charge my Sea Guard containing my general, beat them up, and then overrun into the Queen's Guard, who would then get beaten up on the following turn. Because then I'd have the big scary unit in the back of my line, and then I'd be really in trouble. So I thought, right, I've got to try and do the same thing to you. And having whittled down that Greybeards unit, I thought, well, there's only one choice. My Sea Guard with my general have to charge the Greybeards and then punch through, possibly, or swivel around, try to do something threatening. So I did that. The Knights then just moved in closer to just to try and threaten the flanks of the 2 remaining units. So I felt a little bit safer here because then at least I had my Sea Guard. They reformed to face the clan warriors. And there's the commander who, well, there's another tale to tell here. But the commander was behind the dwarven lines. The reason the commander is now here is that the other thing I tried to do, if you look in the bottom right, there is a fleeing unit of citizen spears. In a moment of thinking that the numbers would go in my favor, and relying on my war banner of Rhymer, this citizen spears unit charged the King's Guard in the front, which should have killed a hefty number of them, like on average. And the commander tried to charge them in the rear on a long charge. What happened was the commander failed his charge. The citizen spears rolled a lot of 1s and 2s, rolled very low, and I think only killed 1 King's Guard with 24 attacks at strength 4. So then the King's Guard fought back and the Citizen Spears broke and ran. And the only stroke of luck was that I rolled higher on my flee roll, so I managed to escape from the King's Guard. So that was when the sweat came back again. And then the commander's now stuck there with the marksman able to shoot him. But at least the Greybeards were gone. There's just now 3 big scary units of dwarves to deal with. So sorry, so that was the end of... Oh, no, hang on a second. Sorry, this is the end of your turn 3 now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I think the King's unit have charged into that Spears unit that was sitting on the hill.
Not yet. They first charged the Knights of Rhymer.
Oh, they charged the Knights,
who
and then
fled.
The Knights fled, and then we redirected the charge up there
into the Sea Guard. Yep.
Into the Sea Guard. So we're fighting the Sea Guard, and the Sea Guard have got a grudge against them, so they're a unit that I targeted anyway. The King's Guard have charged one of your artillery pieces and killed that. So there's 1 less artillery piece there.
And you also overran into my fleeing citizen spears and thus wiped them out.
Yeah, so that's a pretty happy result.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm thinking the spears unit that's on the hill, they're doomed, and I'm thinking I've got my seekers who are facing the big block of spears that are hiding in that forest. There's another unit of knights which are currently fleeing. I've got a secondary objective. I'm looking pretty good at this point. I'm thinking I'm about to take the center. I've got the hill. I've got my big King's unit. I've got the Seekers who are about to cause some upset. I've got my King's Guard who've broken your line. I've got my 2 artillery pieces still firing. what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, we should add here that the again I had a stroke of luck to make up for the Citizen Spears bouncing, which is that the so the when you charge the Sea Guard with your Clan Warriors unit, because of the maximum 90-degree wheel, you couldn't fully line up with the front, which meant that I fled to where I was. So you killed fewer than you could have. It meant I killed fewer than I could have as well. But then the stroke of luck I had was that I managed to flee further than your pursuit, and I think that was because of the angle. I was just a bit off your front, so I got further away, and you didn't manage to even catch me like with the actual move. So I managed to get away without getting wiped out, which saved that unit.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Yetis have still got the secondary objective, and you were kind of taking off about 1 wound per turn of that unit, and I thought, I just need to sit this out because you can't possibly destroy that unit.
Yeah.
With just the Sky Sleep ranged fire. So I was pretty happy that I was going to keep that secondary objective.
Yeah. I think I came to the same conclusion. I think you told me. I think you were like, yeah, you've only just taken off 1 wound per turn or something. And so I think that last turn, I think I had a go at the cannon and managed to knock a wound off it. But again, it felt like small change, which is so hard to get it in the ruin. And then, so my turn 4. So just to go back again, just so we can see what happened. So the spear unit in the forest were able to get 1 guy in. We're able to charge the Clan Warriors in the flank and get 1 guy in contact with 1 guy. So I got corner to corner on a second file. So because I get 4 ranks fighting, that was 8 spears fighting in your flank. And the Queen's Guard, who just this game and the last game, they've been the unlikely close combat heroes. They're supposed to be, they don't even have shields. They're supposed to be the elite archers that you protect. But like last game and this game, they've been the ones who've gone, right, fuck it, you need us to charge in, so we're going to charge in with our spears that you bought us. We're damn well going to use them. So they charge in at the rear, and as I say, the citizen spears charge into your flank. And you triggered your hold stone, which I should have read up on it properly, but I didn't realize that would mean that I couldn't disrupt your ranks for having a massive block of spears in your flank. But nonetheless, we checked the rules, and your king wasn't able to move to the back rank to fight, so he wasn't able to do anything. And so then that meant the odds were in my favor, and I won the combat, broke your King's unit and ran them down with the Queen's Guard, who were MVP, definitely. And of course, because Highborn Elves, one of their great strengths is rallying, with the martial discipline. So the General's unit obviously rallied to face the now non-existent Clan Warriors unit. So I felt like this was where I started to, or possibly started to pull it back. I was feeling less disappointed at this point. That fucking Dragon Seeker, though, you can see I charged the Knights of Rhymer in, killed all the Seekers, and yet again, it's that fucking Bobby Dazzler. He's just like, nah, I don't care. Just jab me with your pointy things. I quite like it, to be honest. Still alive.
He's a consistent performer.
He is, yeah. He's the Ray Winston of your army. And the Sky Sloop is just now chasing the Yetis, just shouting about how, I bet you don't even use conditioner.
Yeah. So the cannon killed the Sky Sleep.
Yeah.
As soon as it came around the corner, we were like, oh, look, okay, I'll just shoot it. Sky Sleep went straight down.
I think you had a couple of attempts.
I had been shooting at it because it had the hard target. Did it have glittering lacquer?
No, it just has hard target because it's pulled by a toy pterodactyl.
Oh, okay. It's got pterodactyl.
It's because every time you want to shoot at it, one of your dwarf engineers goes, "Isn't that from Phoenix?"
Is that a pterodactyl?
Yeah, don't they sell them in Phoenix toy department for like £2?
Are they in this world? Is it not supposed to be an eagle or something?
Yeah,
sure, that's a pterodactyl. So the Dragon Seeker has killed quite a lot of knights. There's knights there.
I hate him.
Yeah. The Kingsguard have reformed to try and take out the other piece of artillery.
Yeah.
At the moment, well, you've killed my king, you've killed my king's unit, you've killed my greybeards, and I'm thinking, well, if I could just scrabble some extra points and protect the points that I've got, then I may have done enough. But it went from looking pretty good to looking pretty bad in this last turn.
It was a back and forth game, I think, wasn't it? Definitely.
It was, and at this point, I'm looking at those Yetis. The Hold Guardians have got the secondary objective, and I'm thinking, well, they're so far away from the action, and those knights are still being tied up by the Dragon Seeker. That actually, they've got that secondary objective, and there's no point in even moving them anymore because they're just there outside of any danger. So I actually think in this turn, when it came to my turn, and they've got secondary objective, I actually just said to Kriegschmidt, I'm just not going to move those because those are out of the battle now. And you said, oh, you should probably turn them to face the action just in case, very, very helpfully. And I did turn to face, but I didn't move them away, which was stupid. Because what
Spoiler. So with a slight apology, so it got to the point now where again it was like our energy levels were dropping and we were slurring and I was drooling and Dangle was sort of randomly eating things and we got to the point where we were like, okay, shall we call it? And we couldn't decide on the verdict, and I said, well, I've got a clear idea of what I would do for the next 2 turns, and you had an idea, I think, of what you would do for the next 2 turns, and so I think we decided it was worth playing it out, so we just basically went like the fucking clappers, but I forgot to take photos until the very end of the game, so this was the end of game turn 4, and then this was the end of the game.
This is 2:30 a.m. after it all.
Yeah,
it was well after our bedtimes.
It was, yeah. We were both kind of going, oh God, the small human's going to wake me up in like 4 or 5 hours or whatever. But just if I can just throw in very quickly so the 3 knights there together were actually the dregs of both units. So I charged the other unit of knights into the Dragon Seeker. It took both units to kill him. And even though they did kill him, there was only 1 knight, so 1 champion and a champion and battle standard and standard bearer in the other unit left. And yes, having sort of said to Dangle, I don't think you should leave your Hold Guardians with their rears pointing to me. I then charged the 3 remaining knights into the front of the Hold Guardians and wiped them out. So, and then I think, let's just go back a sec. So I think what happened in the middle was that the general managed to cast Raven's Wing on the citizen spears to stick them in front of the marksman. And the Grey Watchers had spent most of the game fleeing and rallying, so they had rallied, and I think they tried in vain to shoot the Grey Watchers. They maybe put the Fey Miasma on them, and then I think the commander was just trying to harry them, really. But
that was that. Yeah, I think it all hung on. I think I would have still lost if I had held the secondary objective, but it wouldn't have been nearly as embarrassing a score.
Well, it wasn't embarrassing, was it? Because it was it was 14-6 we worked out. It was 14-6 to Highborn Elves. Mm-hmm. I don't. Well, I hope you don't feel that was embarrassing. I didn't feel that was embarrassing. I felt you've gone the other way.
Yeah, it was back and forward, and there were certainly times when I felt confident, as you could see from my stance in the photographs. There was times around kind of turn 3 where I was getting near your lines, and I really felt like I had pushed through. I'd done quite a good job, but yeah, another loss, another line in the book of grudges.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we worked out, didn't we, that if you'd got the secondary objective, it would have been 11-9, and possibly even a draw, because if you'd got the secondary objective, it would have been because the Hold Guardians hadn't been killed, so I wouldn't have got their points either, so it might even have been a draw. And actually, in a way, I feel like a draw would have been the ideal outcome because it was such a it was like two mortal enemies in the final of a tennis match, just smashing the ball at each other, desperate to, like, oh no, he's countering everything. What do I do? And the other guy's like, oh no, he's countering everything. What do I do? Just back and forth.
Just drinking so much orange squash.
Eating so many miniature Cadbury's things.
They don't eat those at Wimbledon. They eat bananas and they drink squash. It's well known.
And even my sneaky tactic of accidentally tearing up your army list to write spells on and put them next to my units, that didn't win me the game either.
I know. You're like, have you got a scrap paper? I was like, you can have a little bit of my army list.
No, you didn't even give me it. I was just like, oh, I'll just tear this off, and you were like, that's my army list.
Yeah, I think you actually tore the top corner where it said king. I think you just tore my king out of my army list.
Yeah, it's trying to demoralize you.
But I quite enjoyed this battle, and it was definitely, I think it was definitely our closest battle. It was the one where the result was closest, and I think it was fairly even, and like I lost obviously, but there was no massive points apart from not moving the whole gardens further away. There's no massive points where I think this is where I lost it. I think it was just an honest fought battle, really. And you might think that there's places where you think you won it, but it just felt like a fight that you won, really.
I think generally I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think there were, like any sort of healthy game, there were there were good plays that we both made and mistakes that we both made. I think the first and most glaring mistake of mine was gambling on you splitting your force. And as soon as you didn't do that, which I think was just, really well played on your part. You like, I'm a great believer that the deployment zone, you can really steer the outcome of the game, and I think you definitely outplayed me in the deployment zone. That was really like, well played there. And that definitely made the game a lot more exciting for me, because then my entire plan had gone out the window and I was like, oh shit, I have to improvise. I remember thinking that the point that the game could have gone differently was the point where your King's Clan warriors charged the Knights of Rhymer and then redirected into the Sea Guard. Because I remember thinking it was risky sending them in on their own, because it didn't really end up going well, did it? Because even though you broke my Sea Guard, they escaped, and then I was able to do like a fatal counter charge on the King's unit and wipe him out. And I remember thinking that was risky charging them in on their own, but I don't know that was necessarily the bad thing to do. I just remember thinking, oh, that's risky.
I think at the time when you're standing in front of all these units that are excellent archers and marksmen and things, and you think, well, there's a chance to kind of get in and hunker down in a close combat, then that's quite tempting. I think I need to learn that King's unit is an absolute behemoth, but it's not an attacking unit. It's got I've got that hold stone thing, but the hold stone isn't a get out of jail free card. And it kind of seems like it will be, but it isn't. And the dwarves with the spears are best. That's a defensive unit, and I think there's a few times when I've thought, right, I'll charge it in because it's a non-killable unit. And the king does have some output, but he's not like the Dragon Seeker is. He's not a scary unit on his own. And I think you're right. I think it needs to be supported by other things, and the Greybeards had already been killed by that point, and the Kingsguard had decided they were going to go after the artillery, and maybe they could have hung back and supported the other unit a little bit better. Yeah,
I remember when I was shooting at the Greybeards in this battle, it felt a bit like in like Baldur's Gate or Dungeons and Dragons, when you learn through experience that you always kill the wizard first.
Mhm.
Because if you try killing the fighters while you're trying to kill the fighters or the party tank or whatever, the wizard's fucking everything up, from 10 yards away. And so you learn just like take the hits, kill the wizard, then the rest of the thing will be easier. And I remember thinking, I've got to kill the greybeards because they're the only unit I can really kill, relatively
Mhm.
quickly. And if I try and kill something else, I won't kill it, and then all of them will be on me. So it felt a bit like
It's not like killing the wizard because you didn't try and kill the wizard because the wizard was in the. So it's a pretty bad analogy because the wizard was actually in the King's Guardian. So yes, so Kriegschmidt ate the M&Ms. Final piece of the story.
That's
The
it,
M&Ms.
yeah.
The M&Ms did get eaten that had been sitting on that table with
That's
a piece
it.
of blue tack for 3 weeks since the last game.
To the victor go the spoiled M&Ms.
Yeah, very good.
So that was that, and so there's I think we've already rolled up the next one, and it's Highborn Elves again, but on a different node. I think I shunted you to a different node on the campaign map, which I keep forgetting to sort out the campaign map so you can see it. Sorry about that. So it'll be a different table, which will be refreshing. We can try some different tactics.
Yeah, but it was a good one. So tune in again. Comment down below, like and share.
Yeah, mash the like button, like, share, subscribe. I feel I should apologise for the lack of smut in this one as well. I feel we've been a little bit too clean this time. We'll have to try and be a little bit more offensive next time.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
We'll try harder. Okay, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Happy festive season, everyone. And
Season's greetings.
see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.